Good evening and welcome to Wedmore Parish Council meeting on the 20th of June 2018. May members be reminded that we are recording this meeting. Any apologies for absence?
Yeah, apologies, Chairman, from Verbatim, Louis Seymour and Suzanne Matters. 3.
You just not write them down.
Yeah. Any reports, Polly?
Oh, hello, me, it's me already. No, not really, it's been quite quiet, actually. The leader of Central District Council fell off a ladder at the weekend and he's broken 2 vertebrae. Bit silly. So he's in a bit of a bad way, in a body brace for the time being. It has been a really quiet month. I went and talked to Marina Turner about the RLT2 funding and then got in touch with Pete, so I've heard about that. Had a community scrutiny task and finish meeting about the impact of online shopping in town centres and how they can get people into the towns more. I think they've got to focus on Burnham quite a lot and trying to jazz Burnham up. They were talking about doing mini golf again, which I thought was a brilliant idea, but apparently it got turned down years ago because the town council didn't like the idea. But there is actually effectively not a lot to do there, unless you want to go to the beach, and there's a lot of tourist trade and not a lot for people to actually do. So I think they're going to try and pump quite a lot of money into Burnham at some
They get
stage.
3 million people go to Green every year, don't they?
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
So,
Isn't it not the dirtiest water unsafe to swim in?
well, that's why you need other things to do. But things like they haven't even got a soft travel things. On rainy days, there's actually nothing much for kids to do other than going to Green Splash. So that'd be quite interesting. And I chaired my first licensing committee panel because it was a chat from Cheddar and obviously the chairman couldn't do it because it was in his ward. And that was quite good, yeah. He didn't get his licence because he wasn't a fit and proper person, we didn't think. Other than that, that's about it. Cool.
Okay, thank you, Polly. Okay, moving on to item 3. Sue, in your absence last month,
yeah,
you were voted in as vice chair.
thank you very much.
Welcome to the team.
Could I ask you to sign the declaration?
You do accept.
No renaming at this stage.
Item 4, any declarations of interest?
The bits are Chairman.
Everyone happy for me to sign? Moving on to the public participation.
I think it's all the agenda items really, so probably say nil.
Okay. Any matters arising?
A couple, Chairman. Internet banking, just to say we're now up and running and it's doing very well. Glenys is involved as well. What happens basically, I set the payments up when the bills come in, send it across to her who authorises it, so there's 2 of us who have a look at it, and once she pushes the button the bill is paid. So we've got 2 signatories, we're both signatories, but I can't do it on my own, I have to have a second one, so Glenys signs it if you like, electronically, and it comes back to me and said the bill has been paid. And we get receipts as well from various people, all being filed, everything files on the accounts file in there. And it seems to be working very well indeed. It will save us a lot of time, it will save us a lot of postage as well. We post out invoices and cheques every month, and we're paying our bills promptly, which I think is a better thing as well. There's been no issue at all, I think it's working very well.
It is, it's just what about if I go on holiday for 6 weeks?
Well, yes, I mean, we'll have to get one of the other signatories who's got a computer to be signed on. It's not difficult.
Is it easy
Take your
to
computer
sign?
with you, Dennis.
Yes.
The beach
There
going
was that
okay?
issue came up at the weekend. I I was sent some invoices. Didn't have
Is it relatively easy to set up for someone else?
Yes, well, it's more form to be filled in, of course, and turn up at Lloyd's Bank and that sort of thing, but it's not difficult, really.
Okay.
The other thing was, Chairman, was the diverting the footpath. Remember this came up in Pilgrim Street. I did write a letter as requested, asking if this path could be diverted as a matter of some urgency. I had a very positive response back from the footpath people saying they were quite happy to work with the owner of the property to sort this out very quickly. So they seem positive, but I haven't heard any more.
Okay, great. Point 8, financial matters.
Well, as Laura and Susanna both checked the accounts, everything balances to the penny again this month, and you'll see that all the payments are listed on there. Only one cheque was issued at the beginning of the month, all the rest have been paid by backs.
Okay, great. You find it all right, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, item 9, to consider commenting on Central DC draft gambling policy.
I was circulating all the members. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on it, or think we ought to comment, or just make no observations on it. I've just got to reply to them tomorrow with the decision.
What is the job?
Well, you would have read it, wouldn't you?
No.
I think it's something which is reviewed every couple of years.
Yeah.
I remember last year.
I think last time it came up, we just said we had no observations. I think left it alone. So everybody happy with it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read it.
Okay.
Well, I read some of it, no thanks.
Nick?
Yeah.
Sims last time?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay? Item 10,
George.
Steve, Community Land
Oh,
Trust.
yes. You may recall I gave a brief verbal overview of what a community land trust is, and there were pamphlets available a few meetings ago. It's really crunch time now, Mr Chairman. We need to decide whether we're going to sponsor it and support it or not. If we do, go ahead with it. I'm not suggesting the Parish Council actively gets involved, but we do need to say we're going to back it. My intention was, if the Parish Council feels it's worth supporting, because we've got a stall at the street fair for neighbourhood plan team, an activity. We've put a small chart up there because there has been some support from individuals who have come to some of our consultations saying what a good idea it is and they'd like to get involved. We need to do it make a decision on it fairly quickly. There's a seminar on it in Bristol the week after next, which I'm prepared to go to if the Parish Council supports the idea. The challenge is to get it up and running at the time they start to build the new houses on the strong blocks start building houses, because it's at that stage really where we need the community land trust in place, so we're chasing our tails with it. You will recall that the advantages of it is that the community can control the tenants in terms of who rents the affordable housing, the social housing, and who's supported in terms of the affordable housing. And it also takes it out of the right to buy envelope, so they can't be sold off once they're part of the trust. It just needs a good team of people to run it, and I certainly wouldn't be one of them. I'm 70 next year, I'm getting knackered. But it needs young, dynamic people, probably about half a dozen people, I guess. There is a seminar, as I say, which I'm prepared to go to, but I think the Parish Council needs to decide, do we support it? Mark tried to implement one without the support of the Parish Council, which is not good at all.
Well, certainly I think from what we've already set out with the 106 for Cross Farm, that's been the Parish Council's view that the affordable should be going to local people first. So in my opinion, I think we should support it, but it's obviously getting some people behind it to run it. So
in principle, I mean,
I think it's a great idea. But,
there's part of the national CLT organisation will send somebody out to talk to us if we so wish, and I think that's free. They'll give us a presentation on how it all works and how to start setting it up and so on. So I'll investigate that further and talk to Rod about putting it on the agenda. But if everybody's happy, then we'll move forward slowly. But I didn't want to waste time talking to parishioners and my time as well. If it wasn't.
Hopefully I speak for everyone that it's something I think the Parish Council should support really.
Can I just ask, Mr Chairman, is there any likelihood of the prospective, if not the buyer as it were, and the developer, does that impinge on their remits of who to sell, why to sell?
Well, it impinges on the council's, the Sedgemoor District Council's remit on who they let the social housing to, because the social housing becomes part of the Community Land Trust. Also, the parish, the Community Land Trust can decide on who has first priority in living in the homes. So at the moment, with Cross Farm, we're covered because Wedmore and people associated with Wedmore get first call on the properties. But when the other properties are developed, they just become a district resource. So if you're a single mother in Bridgewater, for example, with a couple of kids, and there's a young family in Wedmore, then they go to the bottom of this, and we'd like to give people in the parish the first call on the...
There's also a lesser percentage of affordable for that development
Yes,
that's been
there is.
proposed.
Yes,
so
that's right.
So you're looking at
There is.
30%
That's right,
as opposed to
yeah.
44 for Cross
So
Farm.
that's what we felt was the benefit, really. It brings the social and affordable housing under control of the community rather than the district council.
Sorry, just quick, I didn't know if Polly had any liaison with Will about the Mark project that didn't work. I don't know if you knew.
Well, yeah, no, nothing, that just all fell apart, and then
That's right.
Yeah, because I
they
did in the
wanted to
background of Mark.
restart again, and they haven't.
Hmm.
Yeah, that just was...
And what,
But the thing is, again, I mean, yes, it's a great idea, I'll support it, but, you know, the problem will lie in finding the people to do it.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
And as you say, time is of the essence, so, you know, I can't help but feeling as usual.
It's the boat's gone, isn't it, I think?
Yeah,
That's a great idea, but
It's
with
great.
regard to running it, is there funds available or is
Yeah,
it...
oh yeah, there's funds, there's national funds available, etc., etc. There's quite a lot of support out there. But I mean, there's no point really in trying to get potential candidates if we're not going to support it. That's
No, I think
I think-
we have.
so one step at a time. I mean,
Support it in
we
principle,
might miss
but
the boat,
it's,
but
it's,
we might
it's
not.
the fact that
Yeah.
we ensure to get the...
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm speaking for myself, I'm certainly not going to get a chance to do it, but
I think it'd be a
probably
good
everyone
idea
else
one or
around
two
this
members
table
of the
is not
parish
going to have time,
councils
but-
on the trust, obviously, you know, ultimately, if we were successful with it. So, okay, so on that basis then I'll get more information from
and then we'll
you,
look at it
and
again.
I'll get names from parishioners who are prepared to run with it. But if the parish council will give some thought to individuals, whether you're prepared to give up some time for that, if it does come to fruition, I think that'd be a good thing.
Steve, sorry, quick question there. How long do these land trusts last? Are they anticipated as lasting? Is there any form of continuity?
I don't think there's any defined time limit. Once it's in place, it's in place ad infinitum till wound up.
So, yeah.
Because they end up owning the properties, you see.
Yeah. So all I'm looking at is how long are we looking at being committed to this? I mean, in perpetuity,
Yeah.
I suspect.
Yeah, the trust is in perpetuity to wound up, I suppose. I mean, these are the sort of things you've got to find out.
Yeah, I'm going to say this
I
is
did have a
something
lovely
you're
folder
gonna
on it all,
get.
I
You moved.
remember, and I've lent the folder to somebody, and everybody denied having it.
I don't think I got it.
You've got a speed camera.
I did have it. I did bring it back for the meeting.
Anyway, so I'll take it then, Neil. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That it's worth putting a bit of work into.
Certainly looking into it,
And
I
if we've
think.
got some benefit, great. If not,
Would it really help if somebody come and spoke to us about it?
Yeah, definitely.
well, that's right.
I think we should get somebody
Yeah.
to come and speak to us
An
about it.
organisation.
Because I'm not in favour of owning the houses, any trust owning the houses. Having served housing for 20 years at Sedgemoor, what comes at the end of it is a lot of money's needed. A lot of these people go into these houses and they ruin them.
We need more information, Janice.
Yes.
Just support in principle, but then it just this
That's all I
seems...
wanna know. There's no-
Because it could be a
no
bit of a
big
millstone
barrier.
around the council end up with the liability.
Yeah.
No, the trust.
Oh, well,
it's
even
purely
so.
management. But the trust can't exist without the support of the parish.
No, so, which would then
The
revert
trust,
back
it's
to,
a legal body, you know, and blah, blah, blah.
because there must be a constitution with regard to with the trust wound up and then it reverts back to,
Exactly.
yeah. So-
But it wouldn't come back to the parish council.
No.
No, I wouldn't at all.
No. Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
I'll come back with a availability of the speaker.
Okay.
and I'll report back on the seminar I'm going to.
Okay, right. Thanks. Okay, moving on to item 11, to receive a short presentation from Liz Burton concerning toilet twinning.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Where do you want me?
Just wherever you like.
I can't see anybody. Thank you for having me and for squeezing me on the agenda. There may not be enough of these to go around, but I'll see them around. I realise it's a bit of a random thing to have on your agenda, and you're probably wondering what on earth it's about and what we're doing here. So I'll try and keep it brief because I know you've got a really busy meeting. So toilets seems to be my specialist subject at the moment. So toilets, we've all got one, probably more than one, but unfortunately 2.3 billion people in the world don't have access to proper sanitation. And obviously we are well versed in the benefits of proper sanitation. We know the impacts that it has on health, on life expectancy, on people's ability to work and provide for their families, the attendance levels at school, and various. Have you got enough to go around?
Yeah.
So we're well aware of that, but unfortunately not everybody is aware of that. So the organisation Toilet Twinning is a charity which works in about 40 at the moment, 40 different countries worldwide, providing toilets for basically those that don't have them. One of their big issues is obviously not so well talked about, is about safety and security, particularly for women and young girls who are at risk of sexual abuse if they don't have access to a safe toilet. So what they do is they go into communities, they educate the local communities as to why they need a toilet, why it's a good thing, and then they equip them with the tools and the knowledge to build their own toilets. And how they do this is through toilet twinning in this country. So they ask people here in the UK to effectively sponsor a toilet. So by twinning your own toilet for a cost of £60 a year, £60 one-off, there's no ongoing cost, you're then basically sponsoring a toilet. So why am I here? I'm not here to ask for any money, obviously, because I know that that's not in the pot. What I'm here to say is that I'm at the street fair next month with my toilet twinning hat on, trying to encourage lots of lovely people to sign up and twin their toilets, but also I'll be fundraising. And what I'd really like to do with that money that's raised, with your permission and your blessing, is to see if we can twin the public toilets in Wedmore, which I think would be, we'd get one of these certificates to put up, and the benefit of this is then that it works as basically free advertising for everybody that goes in the loo. And that's how I got involved, is I was in a restaurant somewhere, I popped to the loo, saw it up on the wall and thought, oh, that sounds interesting, went online, Googled it, and now I'm the proud twin of a toilet in Malawi. So really that's all I'm asking, is whether we can potentially twin our toilets. It's £60 per toilet. Obviously it depends on people's generosity and how much money we can raise. I know we've got 2 ladies' toilets. I don't, funnily enough, know how many gents we've got because I've never been in there. Just the one, okay. So potentially £180. If we raise that, then great. If we have your permission to do that, fantastic. We'd love to do that, and we'd love to be able to put one of these stickers up. So really that's what I'm asking for. I don't know if you want to discuss it while I'm not here, and then let me know, or if you have a question.
A quick question, if you didn't raise the money, do you think the Parish Council could chip in and...
No, sorry.
Can we not do
No,
that?
not allowed to.
We can't do that.
We cannot put parish money towards any aid programmes or anything like that, or individuals.
Okay.
So it's just not possible. It's only for local projects.
Depends if any
We can support the idea.
councillors would like to chip in.
Yes.
I'll propose a win.
Please.
Yeah, we support it non-financially.
Yeah.
We can always support it.
We'll come and find it straight.
We'll come and find you a tenant.
Hopefully this might be the first step on becoming a twinned village, but that's a bit of a way down. We need to work with schools and local businesses, you know, pubs, churches, all the rest of it. So, but this would be a great start, so thank you very much.
Well done.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your meeting.
I was just going to say, public toilet, is that a public toilet in wherever? It doesn't matter, it's not important. Yeah, I think the idea is to put in some money, I think it's a really good idea.
You can't use parish funds for unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine, but
Yeah.
parish,
Yeah.
parishioner,
Yes,
parish council.
It's more, I think it's more the fact that we could associate our property
Yeah.
with the
Whatever.
Perhaps it's something the sports field may get involved with as well.
Yeah.
Well, we might well have a public toilet for Twin.
Pete, do you want to speak? Do you want to speak now? We'll bring the items forward.
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
Good evening,
item
councillors.
15, okay.
And I notice there's a change at the helm since I last spoke to you. So good evening,
A
Mr.
lot
Chairman.
greyer than last month as well.
That's great, that's really good.
I wrote a letter back to you on the 11th of May, which I was then unfortunately unable to attend a meeting shortly afterwards. I did send my apologies, they got lost somewhere between the B2 offices and Rod Payne's office, but one way or the other, I think it was requested that I attend and just update you as to where we are. Just so you're clear on where all of the money from the Premier League and FA Facilities Fund came from, that was primarily in support of the junior football activities at the playing fields. Basically, unless we had money from that fund, there wasn't a project. And pretty well stated that from the start. They were likely to be the only major funders of the project. It transpired that Sport England wouldn't jointly fund with them because Sport England fund that fund. They provide 1/3 of their funds, so the only real big hit we had was with the Premier League and the FA Facilities Fund. We've been working at the Junior Football Club very closely with Somerset FA, and following the completion of large projects at Ilminster, Wemden and Froome, we found ourselves as a community FA Charter Standard Club community club top of Somerset FA's list of priorities. I got introduced to a gentleman called Stuart Lamb in November last year because Somerset FA had previously only been talking about funding in the region of £100,000, and he suggested that we apply for a sum in the region of £240,000, which suddenly meant there might be a project there. It quickly transpired as we started adding in various other costs that they weren't going to invite us to put in an application, which frankly took a huge amount of work to get submitted unless there was some realistic chance of us being able to get some money from the back of it. Now, they gave us that indication in November. The bulk of the money that the Parish Council had previously given to us, which was specifically requested for professional fees, drawings, specifications and getting out to tender, hadn't actually been spent. It was very quickly spent in November and December because we managed to get the project out to tender just before Christmas, because we were then working some very tight deadlines to avoid the 3-year planning anniversary that runs out on August the 12th and to meet the deadlines given to us by the Football Foundation. Initially, when we put the package of works together, we bolted just about everything on there that we would like. Great, it's fine, but this is excluding, and as I said the last time I spoke to you, this is excluding anything to do with the first floor, which was just the ground floor of the building. We came back with tenders in the region of £700,000. The Football Foundation were never going to give us that amount of money. They were basically interested in funding the changing rooms, the officials' changing rooms, the toilets, and a percentage of the club room. Anything beyond that, they weren't really interested in. So we went through a very savage process of value engineering and basically peeled about £190,000 off of the build cost. Obviously there were some nice to haves that quickly disappeared, ground source heat pumps, blah 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 blah. There were quite a lot of external works and tidying up disappeared as well, but the bottom line is we got it down to a position where the Football Foundation thought that they could support us, and seeing that the funds that we'd already raised and could possibly achieve then there was a project. We submitted that package, which was a total bill cost of 548,000. That includes professional fees, legal fees and statutory fees, to them as an application, and they promptly gave us £421,425, which was somewhat of a shock because I was hoping for about 300, quietly hoping for 300, which was very good. The reason for writing to you is, based on that contract value, we've got a funding shortfall of about £35,000. Since writing to you, just to update you, the Junior Football Club have handed over 10.5 grand, which is the result of basically 2.5 years fundraising. We've just made just over £7,000 from the golf day that was held last Friday. We had £1,000 from Tesco's Bags of Help. The Bit of a Ball lot, who do a charity ball every year, are doing it in either playing fields this year and likely to turn in another 5k, and we've had clear indication from the Wedmore Real Ale Festival that there will be 5,000 or possibly more coming from there, which gives us a total of about £29,000, and we were £35,000 short. On the basis of that, we've already written a letter of intent to the lowest tendering contractor, who for your interest is NC Tucker Limited, because we have to arrange a start date on site ahead of the 3-year planning anniversary. We have to make a meaningful start, so we will have to dig a hole somewhere in the yard, take a photograph of it, send it to Sedgemoor District Council, cover it over so you can have the harvest home up there, and then as soon as the harvest home is gone, flatten the site, get the compound set up, all before the school comes back in the autumn term, so that we don't create too much upheaval for them. So that's where we are. On the basis of that original contract value I said, 548, we're basically nearly there. The nice to haves that were removed was the fit out of the kitchen, the fit out of the bar, any furniture in the building, any furniture in any of the changing rooms. Some of these you might describe as being needed, but as far as the Football Foundation were concerned, they were nice to have. So they wanted a building with the basic facilities in it, which is what we've got. Polly alerted me to the fact that there was 12,666 in the RLT3 pot. The huge change is that there are no longer cluster meetings. So, because as I said to Polly at the time, our chances of...
Tomorrow night.
That's the last one, I believe. It is the last one. They're being phased out.
Was one on schedule for November?
Is that?
Yeah.
Marina was assuring me that they were being phased out, the cluster meetings, because with RLT3 finishing, effectively the amount of money going into it was greatly reduced, and so all applications would be decided at officer level, passed with a recommendation to the grants committee.
Yeah, but cluster's not just about funding, so it's...
Yeah, so but the RLT3 has been taken away from the cluster meetings, okay, which is a major advantage for us, because it was pretty clear that Axbridge and Cheddar didn't want us to have another penny. So there's a reasonable chance we might get some money. However, those other parish councils are, when notified of where money might be going, they are able to write in to the grants committee expressing their discontent, should they so wish. I fully expect a letter from Cheddar, but we'll see. I will attend the grants committee meeting.
I recall at the last meeting that they didn't want paying out, but they had nothing in the pipeline either. So
No, exactly.
they tried to veto the money going towards Wedmore.
So if you add the 12,666 that's currently in there to the 36 that we previously were awarded, it basically would come to the £50,000 that we'd asked for in the first place. So there's a reasonable case of getting some money out of that, which will go a long way to fitting out the bar and part of the kitchen. We've also got an application into Viridor I've got a meeting on site. We've gone through stage 1, we're halfway through stage 2. I've got a meeting on site with one of their assessors next Tuesday. Potentially that's for £46,762, which would see the rest of the fit out of the bar. The thing that most disappointed us on the management committee was that in the sort of value engineering exercise on the back of the building, there was a large dormer in the roof. Whilst we're providing attic trusses right the way through the building, there was a large dormer in the roof. Well, we took it out of the build cost simply because we couldn't afford it and the Football Foundation weren't going to support us. If we get the money from Viridor, we're all of a mind that unless we put that dormer window back in, and there's probably about £20,000 worth of large dormer window there, it will never happen. So the conversion of the first floor would never happen. So if the Viridor money comes in, which at the moment I would be treating very much as a bonus, we would put the dormer back in, the escape door back into the end gable, and maybe even go as far as just boarding the whole of the floor out with chipboard, just to reduce the upheaval should it then be converted at a later date. But there are a number of external works that I'd like to add back in, just to make it a nicer place to visit, and we can stick one of the porches back on. So that's where we are. My letter to the Parish Council was requesting a sum somewhere in the region of £5,000 towards the fit out of the building, and that would largely be towards furniture in the bar and the fit out in the changing rooms, hooks, benches, bits and pieces, which is where we're looking for on that side of things. Lastly, the very last thing is, I've said previously that the car park is, as you probably found, well, you did very well at Blackford Village Hall to raise funds to get that tarmac, but raising money for car parks is just not an easy hit. There is no money for car parks. I've had a quote in from Arcade Bell to finish the car park, no lines, but just finish the car park, tarred out and sorted out. It's 28,000, which is almost exactly the same price as they gave me 3 years ago, so they've been very good on that price. The tennis club have basically promised 5k towards it. The bowls club have promised 2, but I'm hoping to up them on their promise. The plan from in here is there is a £20,000 contingency built into the build cost of the building. Anything that we can save out of that contingency. The only unknown to us is the exact location of the original pond. We know we've come partly into it. If that's got some unforeseen costs in the ground, but the balance of that 20k that's in as a contingency we put towards the car park, and there's potentially an issue where we may come to the Parish Council to request a further fund at that point to finish the car park off, which would be somewhere in the region of £5,000 with my best reckoning finger. Because unless we do it at this stage, it's never going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. So whilst we've got the ball, the funding ball rolling, and it's gathering momentum all the time, we might as well just keep throwing things onto it and see how far we get. That's the plan. As I say, whether it all comes off, partly comes off, or we just left the basic clubhouse as it stands at the moment, I can't tell you, but I'm very hopeful that Viridor will come in. I'm not so sure about the RLT3, it just depends on how animated other parish councils are, but you never know.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, Pete, for that. Very, very impressive. You raised a point, which just raised a point with me, because I don't know if you're aware, but we've had problems with Blackford Village Hall since we resurfaced it, and they've closed the gates and stopped parishioners using it, only people that are directly using the hall. And it struck me that as we're providing funds to the playing fields, then this would be the time to make sure that we sorted out any access issues with the car park. And I wondered if you could remind me what the rights of access to the car park were there, what the use the school has and what the public generally have there.
Okay, well, it's not a public car park. As it currently stands at the moment, it's a private car park, privately owned car park, and it is there for anyone who is using the playing field or the facilities. The school, by negotiation, have, because they contributed largely to the car park being surfaced.
Right.
There was a hardcore car park there, but there were so many potholes and puddles. The friends, at that stage, it's now the PTA, but the Friends group got together, contributed a large sum of money to actually tarmac that car park out. The school pay £1,500 a year towards ongoing maintenance of the playing fields. Effectively, that all goes towards grass cutting, but it's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
They pay a contribution, and as far as the management committee are concerned, they are happy to let the school use the car park.
So the school can use it, and parents of the school can use it,
Yeah.
and anybody who's using the facilities can use it.
Yeah.
Is that an informal agreement, or is that written down with proper rights of access and registered, a land registry and all that sort of stuff?
With regards to the rights of access, I think there may be something about the car. I don't think there's anything specific about the car park written anywhere. Technically,
Would you mind doing that? I mean, if we put a proposal that said if we linked this to formalising the rights of access,
if you're prepared to pay, prepared to pay the legal fees to get that amendment made, then I don't see a problem with it. But we're certainly not going to spend money on a solicitor to redraft something that will probably cost £2,500 to sort out.
Right, yes. Even if we link the funds to it.
Well, if you're only giving £5,000, yes.
This time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, that's interesting. Thank you very much for that. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
Just out of interest, the sinking fund for the car park, does that still exist? Because
There
obviously you said that it was going, that £1,500 was going into grass cutting, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know what funds are in that now.
There is very little in sinking funds at the moment, because what has happened in effect over the last 2 years is that increased fund or increased costs that the management committee have incurred have been beyond the rents that have been levied against the clubs that are there. The management committee, technically, you probably need to ask Ian as chair to explain exactly where that is, but my understanding, because I'm
You're in
coordinating the project rather than part physically of the management committee, is that certainly the monies that were being put aside into the sinking fund for the multi-use games area, where the football club and the junior football club have been paying monies in, there was an agreement at the last management committee to basically empty that and put it towards the pavilion, because we need everything we can in that particular direction. There's a very good chance that we'll get grant assistance to resurfacing and finishing the mugger anyway, so that was just a tactical decision. I think in the car park funding, you'd have to check with Rich Bramwell, there might be 1,500 quid in the sinking fund, but it's certainly no more than that.
No.
Okay.
And just the RK Bell tarmacking, I don't know if you looked into ground stabilisation as well with concrete. MP Golding do it. They basically power harrow and then stabilise it with concrete to 6 inches and fibres.
Unfortunately, we're tied into the requirements of the Environment Agency, where the surface runoff of the extended car park, same as the bit we've done in the balls, has to be permeable.
Yeah.
and
That's,
that
that's
wouldn't
fair,
satisfy
yeah,
it.
that's
So,
fair enough, it's
yeah.
just more cost for trying to
Unfortunately,
assist you rather than anything.
permeable tarmac
Yeah.
than sheet.
Just while you're talking about drainage and stuff, have you been approached by I know this is going off subject a little bit, but have you been approached by the developer that's proposing to build that into the village about drainage?
Not about drainage, no. I haven't, can I divert slightly?
Yeah.
I spoke to someone today, I won't give his name away otherwise, but he mentioned the name Strongbox to me. I'm assuming that the developments between the school and Quad Lane and opposite are now...
No.
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 No?
No.
But
We
anyway...
haven't spoken about it yet, but...
Okay, but there is a possibility of infrastructure works that would ultimately be to our benefit on this
yeah,
project.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Taking
basically.
place with regard to Western Power. So that instead of us facing a 12.5 grand transformer uplift, that may be picked up by the developer.
But nothing drainage-wise.
Nothing drainage wise. At the time when we put forward the original plan for the playing fields, we spoke to Somerset Highways Department because we were quite happy, as you go in the gate to the playing fields, the ditch runs parallel with the road and then swings across. We were happy to take that ditch all the way down the side of that field and then take it across at the bottom to try and alleviate flooding on the Blackford Road, and the Highways Department were not interested in any shape or form.
Oh, that's for another.
But that's
another
just
time
for,
anyway. Sorry
just for your
bringing it
information.
up, but you know,
Thank you.
certainly
Thank you.
needed considering. But Nick, I think you wanted to.
Well, we did discuss this last MP, and we came up with a proposal that I'm now not sure whether or not is still there. Ollie, you might be able to answer this. Your 12 grand, 12.66 grand, does that include Wedmore's 4?
No.
I'm always a bit at a loss between
Four is
RLT3.
RLT2.
Two is what
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking.
Yeah.
So our
it's only 3.
Right, okay, so our suggestion was that we would ask for our RLT2 money, and with the agreement of the committee.
You can only put that towards
That
playground
RLT2.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, well, equipment might include furniture.
No,
No.
play equipment.
No.
Children.
We'll need that for down there.
But
Yeah,
what you
we
might
will.
be able to do is, if you speak very nicely to Marina, you might be able to get some form of contribution or allowance to spend that money to the infrastructure immediately around the play area to improve the access, which might mean you might be able to spend it on car park.
Okay. That's one option, and the other thing we put in our back pocket was maybe for later in a year, we might come up with some more money to support the playing fields, because it's ridiculous to get to this stage and not do what we can to facilitate your efforts so far.
Absolutely.
So don't bank on it, but you seem to have made remarkable progress so far. So we will investigate the RLT2 money, and
Do we have any other proposal?
No, it's just not a proposal, something that just came to me then, about, this is saying for play areas. Is there nothing for like, this is getting a little bit out there for me as well, sensory space?
yeah.
All comes under.
Yeah, landscaping and a sensory.
Yep.
I don't quite know how it goes, but do you know what I'm getting at? There's touch, feel, smell, everything. It's not just about
Inclusive play.
on a swing.
Inclusive play.
Yeah,
That's right.
which could incorporate landscaping of some sort.
So everyone happy with
Yes.
regarding the RLT2, or another proposal about taking some out of the pot of our own money, or?
Well, I mean, you've asked for 5,000 for us to donate 5,000 towards the equipment in the changing rooms.
Yes.
Change rooms and
Yeah.
fit out of furniture in the club room, basically.
Well, I propose that we do that.
I'd like to make a counter proposal. As this is not an imminent requirement to spend, as I understand Pete's presentation, I think that we should defer committing ourselves until we've sorted out things like the rights of access. I know it sounds like a stupid thing.
No, no.
This has a horrendous
It's a valid point.
way of coming back to you, and it seems such a small thing to get the easements written down so they're properly recorded. And it's unfortunate, I think, that the playing fields are not prepared to fund it, but maybe the cost of registering an easement is quite small. And if you allow me to work out how much it costs, I'd just like to propose that we defer spending or committing the money until we've worked out how much it costs.
Definitely, yeah.
For a point B, play areas, that's where we got caught up in Blackford. Parking to use the play area?
That sort of thing, yeah.
That's
It's your play area, isn't it?
It's not our play area.
Who owns a play area?
We raised, just for your
Yeah.
information, we built, equipped that play area, which cost us £99,750,
I remember.
and gave it to the Parish Council.
It's our play area.
It's your play area.
So we need to make sure that we've got rights of access to that as
In the
well.
future, yeah.
Because this is exactly the thing
You,
that
you
came up
don't,
to
you
us.
don't own the piece of land, but there is a management agreement already in place for the maintenance and operation of the play area, which didn't actually need anything changing in it because it wasn't
It
specific.
might not include parking.
No,
That would be
but it would,
the-
I really do think we should.
Yeah.
Make sure it's written down.
But in principle, Pete, we are still behind you.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
are.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Absolutely.
You've got a proposal, Alex, you have a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, I support that as well.
Do you want me to add
Sure.
withdraw my proposal, if you happen to investigate that, then,
On the fair area.
and then, yeah.
So Alex is going to investigate this, isn't he?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Ian will have the documentation, won't he?
I beg your pardon?
Ian will have the documentation.
I think there is no documentation. I think that's what Pete said.
No, I've got documentation, but I don't think there's anything specific to.
No, not
Nothing,
Right
written
away.
down about the rights of way or anything like that.
No,
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 that's all.
That's a bit of a
But there are understandings between the various people that exist.
yeah.
So
I mean,
the
there
school
was
and
a,
you have an understanding, but it's not recorded, for
yeah,
instance.
there also used to be, just for the record, while you're noting things down, there used to be an understanding that the Parish Council gave the playing fields £1,000 every year towards car park,
Yes.
which hasn't been in place for 5 years. I don't think we've received any money on that basis. But
Still always give
Four
them
months,
rights.
No, we definitely donated the first year I was on the committee, just so I remember being in a meeting.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you look into that?
I'll look into that, yeah.
You almost
Just
did
give them a
this.
player as a grant.
However,
Sounds like over 3 years.
that sounds a little churlish in return to the amount of support you've given us, but it's a perfectly valid point.
As it's a valid point, can I ask you to, any of these other little gems that I might not be aware of, can you write them down? Because I'm obviously going to have to go to solicitor and say
Well,
this is
If
the
you give me your email,
I'm writing it
I
down
will
now.
send you
And
I'll send you over 3 emails, because it won't arrive over one. I'll send you over 3 emails, the electronic copy of the deeds, and then you can make of it what you wish,
Yeah.
because
but particularly if there's an agreement with the school, for instance,
there's
cited that, anything written down for that?
no, there was an agreement.
If
There was
there's
an agreement with Somerset County Council,
About-
but the minute they became an academy,
Not meant.
that agreement disappeared.
So there's actually no agreement with parking with the school at the moment. is
No,
what
no,
you're
at all.
No.
saying?
And that was
There's
the-
misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Right, good.
They used
Well, I'm glad I
Yeah.
raised that point.
Just before you go, Pete, just want to say, well done.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, congratulations.
Congratulations
You
on
must be
everything.
over the moon.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, because, yeah, I certainly am.
Yes.
Good, good.
Yeah, future of Wedmore kids is...
We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Just before we close that item, Mr Chairman, who do I contact at the Academy now to talk about this? Is it centrally run from Cheddar or somewhere?
No.
Does it?
No,
They're part of the runners now,
They've got their own-
but they're individual,
They've got
but
their own
they're like this
It's
sort of
quite
partnership, isn't it? There's 9 schools now.
It's learning...
Head teacher where? At Wedmore First
Yeah.
And
School?
they got a permanent one, yeah.
Jackie.
Is it...
Okay, one at a time. One at a time.
Get hold of Val Jones. She's the kind of guru in the
I know
office. Yeah.
With the £1,000, I believe I was on the committee when we were, and I think there was something along the lines of the value that we were donating alleviated the £1,000.
It was also to do with the fact that we were using with recycling.
Yeah,
It was in the
and that
sinking
was,
fund
we,
because
it
we were
then got
using the
taken
car.
away,
That's
so that's why
right,
we,
that's what it's all about.
we
Yeah.
withdrew our, so we were basically renting a space, weren't we?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't necessarily reinstate that.
No.
No, and that was why we withdrew. There was reasoning behind the
Yeah.
withdrawal. There wasn't.
They asked
Yeah,
us
yeah.
to remove them.
Yeah.
Well, they were getting,
Plainfield people.
Yeah.
yeah, the bins weren't getting empty.
Well, that'd be why it wasn't paid then, right?
Yeah.
The frequency was getting, people were flighting.
And then the Somerset Waste Partnership then withdrew the whole,
Yeah.
which then assisted us really.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else? No? Okay.
12, Chairman.
12. Steve, to consider pushing a speed indicator device?
Yeah, Mr Chairman, you may recall some time ago I got some quotes for these devices with various options. And then went to a seminar held by the County Highways Department guy who in the past has always managed these speed indicator devices they put around on a 2-week basis and give us these wonderful reports about the speeds through various roads, which we've not always got on circulated. He retired, they decided, well, before he retires he'll come and tell us all what possibilities are. They haven't replaced them as far as I'm aware, so that's not being done anymore. When we and other parishes there were very keen on saying, well, let's have one of these, we want to buy our own, we want to put a speed indicator device in this sensitive area because we think it's in your face and it encourages people to slow down. He said, oh, you can't do that because it's not policy. We only have temporary ones because they lose their impact after a couple of weeks. Well, that seems to be a bit contradictory because if you look around the council, there's loads of places where there's a permanent speed indicator of various types. You know, ones that give you a happy face, ones that say slow down, ones that just flash up the speed. So, what I was suggesting was, I think we all more or less agreed it would be a good thing to have at the top of Coombatch where they come over the brow of the hill, or just before they go over the brow of the hill, and maybe another one at the entrance of the village near the school on Pilgrim Street. Having said all that, there's no point in us saying we're going to buy one if we're not allowed to put it in place. So I was hoping David Hastings was going to be here, because I've been trying to contact the Highways Department to say who do we talk to about getting this policy change. I've left phone messages and I can't get through on the phone. I sit there for 15 minutes. I emailed David and said to David, who can I contact in the Highways Department? Because there's a number of issues outstanding that we've got, you know, white lining, all sorts of things. And they would plan the Transport Highway Strategy. We want them to look at it and say, yeah, we agree with that, or no, we object to it. Who do we talk to? I thought, if I go to County Hall and see somebody, go through all these issues. He said, oh, you've got to get in touch with Kat Dyson, he said. She's my contact for this. He really meant Kat Tyson, I found out later. When I tried to contact this Kat Dyson, she's the young lady who came and did the walk around. And I'm not getting any replies from her, I left a telephone message, etc. He then told me last week, oh, she's on long-term sick. Leave her a message anyway, because somebody will pick it up. Well, no, it's chaos. You know, you can't talk to anybody there.
Right.
So I was hoping David was going to be here, so I'll harass him over the next few days, Mr Chair, and say, look, you know, you've got to find somebody to talk
Back to the next
They came,
meeting.
didn't they, to our meeting. So
Nick was first.
Sorry. It's just that David was here and he turned around and said, oh, it's a pity I've got some information on this.
Oh, really?
But he didn't tell us.
I didn't come to the next meeting, you see.
No, it was a meeting that you missed. He said,
Yeah.
well, rather than talk to us about this one, I'll wait till I see Steve. And then you just passed like ships in the night.
I'll try and catch him on the telephone, I think. That's
But what his information is about.
So,
Here's your number, Steve.
Judy?
There was some of those rubber strips across the road in Coombatch, just down from Ollie last week. I'd like to know what they were measuring.
The traffic sensors.
The traffic sensors.
Traffic sensors. Yeah, we just count the number of vehicles.
Just the number of vehicles.
Not
Well, who was doing it?
County Council.
Because there was also one round in Coombatch Rise,
Yeah.
beyond the entrance.
Of the...
So is it to do with the developers or
Yeah,
to do with the...
That's what it does, just count the number of vehicles crossing over it.
Gypsy neighbours did.
There's a little box at the side of the road normally, you see.
when I asked this to go on the agenda, Mr Chairman, cut a long story short, I was hoping by now to have some answers for
Okay.
it. You'll have to carry it forward, I'm afraid.
For the next meeting.
It's not just
David,
you, he
isn't it?
hasn't responded to my emails, I've been emailing them about you know, clustering London School and
I think I'll go there with a barrel instead
Okay.
or something.
So just out of interest, what are the costings anyway?
Although to put a simple one up, a permanent one with solar panel battery charging, so we don't have to pick up the mains, I think it was £2,500. And that just flashes up the speed that you're doing, it says slow down.
Slow down.
Because I think that was the random figure that you brought, like, that was installed by an approved installer.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
I'm assuming they're improved, they say.
Well, yeah, so that's what, because last time I was involved, it was, we were just buying it and then we'd stick it on the post, but you actually has to be
No, we want it done
off-road,
by.
but it has to be off-road working and all that, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, thanks, Steve. Item 13, you may remember a while back with regards to the area at the front of the parish rooms. We're looking at forming a access disabled parking and ramp. So I've approached Benjamin Beecham for some costings regarding getting some plans drawn up. So I'd like to propose that we move forward with that really. So currently we really don't comply at the moment with regard to disabled access, and certainly with this room being used for consultations with developers and neighbour plan. I think we need to move on with it really. So I propose. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just, how much was the fees?
I'm just waiting for,
Right,
a
yeah,
costing. Pete was talking to Matt Benjamin about it. So what we'll do is just get some drawings done and then we'll put it out to 3 tenders.
Do you want some money?
Yeah.
Well, so
But your return is incredible.
yes, I think we just move forward with that. Right, okay, item 14.
It's an annual begging letter from the Citizens Advice Bureau at Bridgewater. Last 2 years we've given them £50 towards their running costs down there.
Yes, we do this again, I propose we do the same.
Seconded by Laura. £50.
Okay, so we've done item 15 with Pete. Item 16, consider a suggestion from Wedmore Scouts, read bulb planting and community projects.
I circulated this to everybody. And I told you there was a map which I couldn't scan, but I did point out where they were going to put their bulbs in various places around the parish. And they were asking her, Bill Belshaw was asking were there any other projects they could get involved in.
Oh, I know one
Well-
in the future. I've got a big one. Am I right in thinking they want to do one at the end of Coombe Lane?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all the neighbours put their bins there, so it'll just get trashed.
Just, can we have a look through that?
Yeah, run over when you're doing it.
Yeah,
It's on the bank, I think, yeah, that's
that's why they've got
exactly
all
where
their
they put the
bins.
bins,
All
yeah.
their bins are recycling, yeah, so they get trashed, unfortunately.
There was one other proposal from Suzanne regarding the Scouts to do was getting the Scouts to wash all the road signs in the village, but as I said to Suzanne, that might bring up some health and safety insurance issues, so that's being looked at by Bill, I think, so. Just great idea,
They could
but
do with.
do it with screw. But we did pay for it, and our council tax.
Yeah.
So if you just point out the one at Coombe Birch.
I will do that, I've got that listed.
I'd love it, but we'll get trashed by the neighbours.
Should we just wish them well?
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, come up with an alternative. As long as it doesn't, it's not a hazard. Hazard.
No, no,
No.
it's unusual, this goes. Don't know what's the number.
Okay, moving on to item 17, update from neighbourhood plan.
Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Go on, it's your night tonight, Steve.
We've reached a fairly significant milestone in the whole process now. We're trying to raise the pace a bit so that we're in line with Sedgemoor's local plan adoption next year and the local council elections. Because there finally has to be a referendum conducted by Sedgemoor, in discussion with Nick Tate, we felt it was a good idea to have a referendum at the same time as the local elections to save costs. So to meet that timetable, we're chasing our tails of going through this, what's called a Regulation 14 consultation throughout this summer, starting in July. we're going to give it, you need to give it 6 weeks, we're going to give it 8 because of the holiday period. So hopefully by the end of September, I think it is, we're going to have completed the Regulation 14 consultation. This is a very costly and time-consuming exercise in as much that we've now redrafted the neighbourhood plan in line with the last load of comments we had from people and feedback from other people like Sedgemoor. And it's being printed as we speak. It's quite a nice looking document. I'm very impressed to see it. And that's going to be available to everybody in the parish. There'll be a mail drop done again with a summary in it and a questionnaire to every household. And we have it installed at the street fair with these documents available and questionnaires again, telling people what's going on. On the completion of the Regulation 14 consultation, it then goes to Sedgemoor, where they look at it and study it and say, yes, we agree with that, it's been done properly, blah, blah, blah. And then they send it off to National, whatever it is, Inspector. And he has a look at it and probably wants to make a few changes. And then it comes back and we submit the final plan for referendum in the new year. So that's where we're at.
Can I ask that you
The
also...
launch date is the 14th of July. There will be a stall at the street fair on the 7th, which we should have some copies.
So we're hoping to hold consultations in here, Rod.
One day here and 2 at the Masonic Hall.
And in the Masonic Hall.
And can I add also, Chairman, that they've received, the Neighbourhood Plan Committee received a further grant of £4,500, I think. It's not in the bank account yet, but I'm expecting it any day now.
Just sorry, one comment on funds. I owe you £10 because we sold 2 cars.
Oh,
So rather than give you a cheque on cash, Rod, if you give me the account and sort code, I'll
Yeah.
transfer electronically. I'll just put MP donation on it. Is that
okay,
right?
will do.
One thing to say and a question. The thing to say is thank you very much for all the work you guys have done for this, because the documentation that I see coming out of this is really, really good and it's well
I'll
produced.
pass that on, Alex.
Yeah.
Thanks. We've
Really,
got
really
some
nice.
good people involved.
Yeah.
Not down to me.
And the question is to do with Blue Cedar, because they wrote a nasty little letter
Oh, yeah.
which we were asked to forward to you. Do they actually have any input? Are they allowed to do you have to take any account of the comments from Blue Cedar?
We have to take into account, but we don't have to.
Only, I mean,
If anybody
you have-
can comment.
well, isn't it from the parish that you...
Anybody can comment.
No,
I think we have to
no,
take any
anybody.
further. Yeah, I think if we don't, we can be accused that we've unfairly excluded people. We don't have to reply to it. We can say thank you for your comments. That's a formal input into our thing, and we don't have to take it on board. We told them what our view is of
Yes.
development. Interestingly, on that topic, I don't know if you've seen Nick Tate's response to the application.
Was that the one where he commented on the amount of money they weren't going to pay for...
No, he's commenting on the Blue Cedar application, saying he thinks it's a good idea.
He did originally say that. Yeah,
It's
and he said it again.
It's on the latest application.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
quite
know where it's coming from.
interesting. I don't know, it's quite interesting. But I mean, as far as the Blue Cedar application, the Naval Plan team said, look, we're not in a position to object to it. We're not. We're not in a position to adopt it because it doesn't meet with the Naval Plan philosophy. So thank you very much. That's it, really.
Just to add to Alex's comments, I've actually had a couple of people from the village turn around and say, do you have a copy of the draft neighbourhood plan, do you?
Turn in and buy it for £5.
Oh shit, I lent it to me.
No, you can have another one. I've got a box.
Oh, they're coming back.
No, there's a new one coming
Yeah,
out.
but if
Yeah.
that's the draft.
This was the draft.
Yeah,
That was
the nice
the
new
draft.
one coming up.
The new one, I was trying to get
Beautiful,
it
isn't
up there.
It does look nice.
It's just, I can't at the moment, but
One of our members went round with photographs and drones and
it's fabulous.
It's good.
It really does, and the graphic designer who's done the work for all I consider is
next to nothing.
peanuts.
And Hugh Hostone's work
It's
as well.
really good.
Yeah. We've got acknowledgements in the document actually. with the people
Yeah.
that have helped us.
I was on a drone my husband wanted to shoot down until I gave it
That's
a
Were you laying there something? I studied the details.
She was comatose with her head on there.
Okay, well done.
Yeah, she's
Great,
down a
very
rabbit
well.
hole.
Thank you.
But if you can visit one of the consultations and give your views as a parish council.
Yeah, thanks.
Do excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm just good.
See you soon. And look at that.
That's the first
Just
meeting.
keep check about the seal.
The treasurer's sorry.
Thanks, Sue.
Cheers.
Bye.
Stay.
I know, just-
Thank you.
Please, we have no formal, I've not formally recognised the.
Okay, any issues and questions?
Can I raise one, please,
You
Chairman?
may.
Chairman, the carpet in my office is a bit of a health and safety hazard at the moment. It's through to the concrete in places, and it definitely needs replacing. It's a trip hazard. I mean that quite seriously, and a couple of councillors have seen it already.
Yeah.
I have taken the liberty of contacting Chris Maunders, who worked with Perfect Flooring in Chellingsby in Wedmore, the village here. They folded up, Jeremy and Chris gone their separate ways. He's still got a place up at Crickham. But he's given me a quotation for some either tiles or new carpet around about 520 mark, 520 to do that room in
You've
there.
got to have carpet, the tiles in the winter, you've bloody awful out there.
Well, yeah,
Even carpets on.
on the carpet, yeah.
Yeah, industrial carpet, the answer, isn't it?
Well, that's what he's suggesting actually. I spoke to him again today. He reckons the
Your
carpet's
visitors
better than
going in
tiles.
there and there's holes in it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to want a knob.
I've an off card.
Well, a fridge. When I said
We
the
should
fridge.
TV, you need log burner in here. Save us on
But
electric.
if I could just be given a go ahead, Chairman.
I'll
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't want you with a broken head.
No, that's right.
or anything.
I know, we can have a, you know,
A clay pot.
The only thing is, Roger, you'll have to clear out in there a bit, aren't you, to get the carpet?
Well, that's going to be a
That'd be
problem.
interesting.
Yeah.
would you like some volunteers?
No.
Okay.
Just volunteer.
Right, thanks.
I was just following protocol. Did everything be directed through the chairman? Yeah, that's what I was on. I did notice that the ivy is growing over the flat roof above the toilet. I don't know if obviously that might be the property of the neighbour.
Oh, right.
It's obviously coming from that property, but
Okay.
there's ivy growing over the flat roof and then up the roof of
Right.
this property. Obviously it must be addressed before
Yeah.
too long because it might potentially end in
Okay.
excess
I'm always
cost.
busy. Nick?
Just brief one. I understand, Ricky, you had problems getting the computer up and going at the last planning.
No, but I have addressed that.
Oh, go on.
With Chromecast was slow,
Yeah, we were warned.
but then I was informed by Alice that I was maybe slightly incompetent. I never said that. But it is the whole. I've talked to Alice about it as well. It is something that maybe us as chairs need to look at. It's actually like download everything and then PDF it into a file. It's just a
Taking
nightmare.
hours.
Yeah.
I looked at that and decided it had to go live.
Yeah, okay, then if you're supporting that, that's fine. Because it changes screen there, doesn't it? Mine, both on my iPad and my computer, it like goes to a different tab. Not a tab, a different... anyway.
Right.
I've now invested in a HDMI lead
Mm.
to stream your desktop straight to that. So hopefully that should alleviate some of the issues.
That should be better because it will take away the lag.
Yeah.
So have you got a receipt, got a receipt
Yeah,
for that?
well not yet because it only got delivered today.
Is there a chance we could try that out before Wednesday?
Before we pay.
I can try it out on Wednesday evening.
Before the
I
meeting?
don't know if I'm going to be able to
I've got
get
an HDMI, it'll be dependent
But
on
I'm
Ricky's
basically
laptop.
what, not with me?
No, but you've got one, so we're ready for Wednesday.
Yeah, I've got one. It's delivered and all that, but I'll make sure the cable works with a monitor. I've got a Samsung TV at home.
I'm just mindful that
It's a big one. Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same. But yeah, so I've got a Samsung TV at home. I will try my laptop with the lead set up effectively. I can't see there's any issues with the different, because it's just no different to streaming anything over HDMI. We use it all the time at work to do exactly that. I don't know if Alex, you do the same or...
I use Google actually, but
Yeah.
I agree that HDMI should work fine, there should be no issues at all, so...
No, it's no different to using a separate. I use two screens at work all the time.
Are we dependent on Ricky's laptop for the planning meeting?
What, for these ones?
If Nick was allowed to finish, then that was the next proposal.
Sorry, carry on, sorry.
Well, no,
I
it
didn't
was
realise
just,
I was interrupting.
we had
No, it's fine.
an email from Stuart Holder saying that we were hearing about people having difficulty accessing the Sedmore webpage live. Keeps breaking down, it's crap. So what we suggest is you download it in advance and just upload. Well, no, what you're saying is just download it to a computer and then just run it off your computer. Now, you've just gone outside of my limit of technical ability. HDMI for me is merely a way of getting from a computer to a television. Very nicely.
I can tell you that, in my view, it would be a complete nightmare because, in theory, for each planning application, you have to download every single document individually and somehow sort it out and keep files of where it's placed in the computer. And so that if somebody said, what about the drainage report? You can go, oh yeah, the drainage report. And the amount of work involved in that is just completely unacceptable. So you can't take the website down and then use it offline. It doesn't work like that at all. You've got to download every single document in all the applications and then put them in folders. Or alternatively, you can put them in a PowerPoint presentation, so it's all in PowerPoint. I haven't got time for that.
No.
So it's live or nothing. There might, if I try and if we had a planning meeting and we weren't unable to access the site, then it would just be a case of doing it without access to the files.
But does HDMI improve? That's just the speed from the computer.
It's just a cable.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah, just cable
not the
rather
download to the
No, it's just a cable from the computer to the screen. It's an alternative to Google Chrome.
I did have the last time I did have the files downloaded by that point, so we would have been able to at least swap between those files. But there was a point that we lost internet. So that, but what I would say is that the council needs to seriously invest in their infrastructure on that planning portal. They should be able to zip for us. They used to have to print everything and send it to us. If they can't zip those files in a PDF form and send them across in that format, then we could access them. I mean, I'm sure that would.
I wouldn't touch it because
But it's still going to be.
If you look at the number of files involved in a reasonable size planning application, you're easily looking at 20-25 files by the time you've got all of the applications, all of the observations and stuff like that. And then you're going to look at 25 files on your computer. How are you going to decide where they are, which one refers to which application? All has to be sorted.
This one saying you could zip. If they zipped zip is a process of compressing files. If they zipped each application into a zip file and then send that across in some way,
just open the zip.
So you open that zip file and everything in that zip file would be one application. And then you could go through it saying, this is your pre-app, this is your application form, this is supporting evidence, blah blah blah, and it's only that particular application is the only way I can see that it potentially, like I've sent off today 20 drawings to a person that I want some stuff routed with, couldn't have sent them over email, so I zipped them all up, he's going to open them, you can all 20 of them in full format, and that's how.
But they have to be named files, so you can.
So that's why I'm saying that they would have to.
A code of numbers.
No, they would have to name every file. But I'm saying this is something that some sensible have to do.
Yeah.
Is upgrade. If they're going to just go from one day going, here we go, there's loads of paperwork, to the next day saying no, there's nothing at all. I think they need to invest in their infrastructure.
Some competent knowledge on river accessible planning, I think. It's a bit above my head.
As long as we can just do a dry run.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do it. It's not going to be on this computer, but I will do a dry run.
There's two issues, isn't there? And my issue was, are we still relying on Ricky's laptop for our planning meetings?
Just getting our computer doesn't actually answer our question. Getting a new computer doesn't seem to answer.
It doesn't solve the problem we were just talking about.
No.
But if Ricky doesn't come with his computer, we don't get anything.
No, because actually you could do it with the HDMI lead. It's 30 foot, so I reckon I could get in. You could get into Rod's computer.
Yeah, but he's got to sit in the other room.
No, he hasn't. No, you could have a because it's a Bluetooth mouse.
It's not gonna.
Yeah.
We either
Anyway.
need another PC.
Oh, we could spend another hour talking about that.
Yeah. So just we put it on the agenda. Maybe we just borrow
We need
the
to
new
resolve
computer
this.
Have a planning
for next
laptop.
time.
We should have a planning laptop.
Yes, I think so.
Because you could also have the agenda up there right
Or a
now.
planning PC or something.
And then-
That's all very well. I don't think that helps because it would mean that the planning chairman would have to come in here and find the planning laptop, get it off Rod, and then start preparing in here.
Or
Where at least Ricky and I.
Well, it certainly is, if you guys are happy using your kits, that's...
Well, we ain't complaining.
and I'm not.
Well,
This is the other thing. I'm not saying this is a job for Rod, and it would have to involve more work or pay and all. But that is the other option. So either Sedgemoor have to do something, or we have to say Sedgemoor, this is something that
that is a smart TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which goes online. Can we not use the television controls to go through the documents?
Have you ever tried searching
No,
something on YouTube
not
on
on
the
the
TV?
TV like that.
All right?
Not on a TV like that, it's not agile enough, you need to do it on a computer. But I mean, this is a serious point, because for a normal planning meeting where we have, shall we say, non-critical applications, if the online system failed, we could muddle our way through it
Yes.
reasonably adequately, because most of the members have a chance to look at it beforehand, and we could say, well, we haven't got plans, but you know, Mrs. Miggins is an extension, anyone got an issue with it, you know, we'd get through it. But something like what Ricky has got on next week,
yes.
he actually is going to have to think carefully about backup, because if the planning portal goes down at that meeting, he can't just close his laptop up and say, right, that's it, we're off, because he's got to have all the paperwork and stuff, you know, printed out anyway, so that he can run the meeting without access online.
I mean, that was my intention, particularly just for the strong box at least, was I was going to download all of it. I was going to download it all, put it as a file on my desktop, and then I'll be able to access it from that. But I wasn't going to do it for everything, because like you said, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, anyway, won't take up too much more time.
The strong box should come. It should come anyway, shouldn't they?
But they still won't be able to provide the appropriate planning documentation. If someone did arrive and said, I would like to see the environmental report, we need to be able to provide that as a council. And like I said, I think it's actually something that has to go back to Sedgemoor as a complaint, or
Yes, you're right.
that they go from one, it literally was over a couple of months.
Is that something you can lobby on our behalf, Polly, Barclay?
Yeah, I can go and tell them.
I think it's
scrambles and it's really
It's
simple.
Well, it's not working for us.
Well, they say it's not working, they say their app portal's going down, and therefore we should find some other way of using it. And I think our complaint would be, if your portal's going down, you need to fix that, because there's no practical alternative way of looking at it. So you need some
Offline
reliability or redundancy.
Well, I
built
can't
into
help
your-
thinking actually
We aren't the first.
the chair and the vice chair of the planning should probably tackle them, because you're the guys who know all the in-depth stuff. I'd happily say something.
Yeah, happy, right, mate.
Yeah, I'm like,
So who I think at the Sedgemoor produced this thing saying that we're very sorry it's going down? You just
Claire, Stuart Hewlett.
Can you drop me a note?
Yeah.
Because I missed that, so and I'll write back to him and say.
I think he's ahead of I'll sort that tomorrow.
Can we put on the agenda, Mr Chairman, the hardware side of things to decide whether we need to improve our resources in terms of access? Because if Ricky's not available, his laptop goes, we look a bit silly, won't we?
Well, any laptop will do.
No, but we haven't got another laptop, as I'm saying.
You've got a laptop?
No, mine's a 12-year-old Dell, which I haven't turned on for 5 years.
There should be a planning laptop, which you can use or not, as the case may be. Just pick it up.
Well, I can use it for other things at the meeting, you can access accounts and all sorts of things.
For the next meeting.
Any other issues or questions? Just one I'd like to raise. Someone approached me last week about the standard of grass cutting in the churchyard.
Oh, yes.
That's Sedgemoor.
No, in the churchyard.
That's Sedgemoor.
Well, I know it's not, but
It's not just the churchyard, Mr Chairman, there's up some meadows, banks, they wait until it gets knee deep and then they just cut it, it's like a haystack. I was going to make a suggestion actually under that heading, but my suggestion was, could we ask Sedgemoor what we're paying for having that done? And then maybe we'd take it off of them and get our people to do it, so we better control it.
we have got enough.
I can't get them to do any more work.
No, we get somebody else to do it, but I mean, they're not doing it very well, they're making a mess.
They've just sent round a list of what's going to be cut, where and when. Not terribly encouraging,
No,
but anyway.
but I wonder what we're paying for it.
I don't know.
Well, actually, I don't know if people were aware, I cut the mostly crossroads, and I did it a couple of weeks ago, and actually had someone stop me and ask
Permission
what
to
they
work.
thought I was doing.
Really? A few of the parishioners cut the grass outside.
It wasn't Len Gill, was it?
I don't know, but they got short shrift anyway, so.
Anyway,
That's another matter.
maybe when we get the next rate scene through, down, how many thousands.
PCC of the church.
Okay, I'm conscious of time wicking on. Any correspondence?
Only listed on the agenda, Chairman. I circulated all the other stuff.
Okay.
Nothing very exciting.
Committee reports, cemetery.
No, it looks quite, we've had some positive comments.
Really good.
It's good.
Well done to them.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Mike, lots of
Nothing to report, just all of them.
On the footpaths front, who's responsible for maintaining the stiles?
That's all right. Well, I'm not personally, but I can. Yes, I've got my hammer out. What do you need fixing?
They're terrible traits, aren't they? They're dangerous.
Yeah, it's all right. I get them reported to me. I report them to
Oh, report to
Council
you?
Council. Yeah,
Okay.
reported to me.
Finance and general purposes.
No, nothing's all the same.
Housing, responded, Alex, thank you for responding regarding Cross Farm. That had been on the 15th. And you're probably aware that there's a strong Vox application going in for the Blackford Road development. There have been some comments regarding from the neighbourhood plan, because strong Vox application are going in, I think there's either 8 or 9, Steve, more houses, is that right?
Yeah, increase the numbers for some reason. Keep up on that.
So we've had no correspondence to the fact that strong Vox are going to be there next week, so
Might get some local residents.
yes,
Yeah.
Well, I nudge them then, because I think they should be here.
definitely, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to, I
So
don't want to
don't
go
say
in
Cross
customers
Farm.
way.
Who are?
No.
I really like that.
Okay,
At least it's not us behind it this time.
No.
well, more clearer cut.
That's the local plan, really, isn't it? Which got a voice.
Highways, car parking, Brook.
Steve.
Oh, sorry, yes, well, what can I add?
Well, there's one
Said.
touched on earlier really, and that's regarding the Brook. When was the last walk?
2 years ago, I think.
Pete and I did it. Didn't we? Didn't we
No,
want
I
that?
did part of it with you, and then the rest of it, Peter.
Would it be prudent to do it again before we get
Do you want me to do it
divulged
again?
with?
I don't want me to do it again.
I'm just concerned about what's going to happen with these developers started pushing a lot of water down through there. I think we need to survey first,
And survey afterwards.
and then survey, and then we can do a
I'll
walk with a.
Shall I do it in September or August? What's the best time?
Let's do it in August. Let's get it
I'd
whilst
say
it's there.
September, because I've got a very good water holder near West End at the moment.
Basically, we want to start before any
It's
development,
behind me.
any
it's
building
the
work
problem.
starts.
Yeah, well, we're right at the top.
So,
So
I'll
we'll make sure that we get in and
does
get it
anybody want to
surveyed
come with
first.
me?
I'll come in.
I'll come.
Oh, that'd be lovely, Julie. Hey, I'll do my lad. Bring your weddings, because
Yeah,
we had
well,
that
bring
before.
Let's go
Stick
on.
something through the diary, stick something in the diary,
Yeah.
and then we'll get through this there, and we can all. I'm just conscious that
Yeah, no,
we
you're
need to know the condition of it.
I think, yeah, also people knowing where and how it runs,
Yeah.
lies.
Can I suggest you take a camera down
Yeah,
there?
Well, I can do
Take your camera.
I can do an audit. I can do an audit, site audit. So take photos of every area and then we can just put it in. there.
It just
Put it in
needs
the
to
file.
be, you
So
know,
anything
visually
identified
recorded.
then can
So
be.
what are you suggesting, Neil? A few of us go? Or?
Yes,
Okay, great, yeah.
I think we could all go.
Okay. Have a nice good day.
Do you want me to circulate some dates?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get a few people to.
I was going to say, we also have a
I'm
village.
sure there's some people that haven't walked the brook
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
It's surprising how much you see when you go around.
I'm not coming.
That might go back.
Well, you know, it's prudent to anyway. So.
Is the brook on private land at any point, or does the private land all stop at the edge of the brook?
They've got to
Repairing.
special ownership, repairing ownership,
Repairing ownership.
which
So
means that the landowners on either side of the brook are responsible for keeping it clear.
Clear.
but
So
there's a
you're
right
all
of way
right
down
there.
it, are there?
Sorry?
There's a right of way along it.
Yeah. Well, it's on a neutral ground.
That's the normal,
Neutral ground.
that's the
With
normal
rivers.
thing for rivers and water.
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
you have right to riparian ownership.
That's right.
Well, we've had issues
You don't
previously
know.
where people haven't.
Done it, Sedgemoor
Get
go
there.
and put it right,
And
and
we've
then
had to-
send them the bill, and they have to pay.
It's only because we've come across landowners on either side of the brook that have said, "Get out of my brook, that's my land," to children and things.
It's a great joke
Get out.
from New Zealand. So there's your bit of room, just gone down there.
But so there's no basis in that.
No.
I'm sure they'd be moaning
I
if it
think
was.
we might be
if
the
it
only
was
one that
blocking
can
up.
say
Yeah,
that.
but they got it
We own
blocked up
both
like it
sides.
was in 68.
For a few minutes.
You own both sides.
First stretch, but
Twice
not
a year, years ago.
Okay.
Do you need to have anybody's permission to walk this brook?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Health and safety and...
Oh, don't.
Oh, come on, let's.
You're not going there, there's anyway.
As long as you haven't got any holes in your way, you should be
Joyce,
fine.
try
Go
it.
any choice.
I'm going to give us the
There was
1980s.
an
This one.
issue at one time, Mr Chairman.
Yes.
There was an
Yes,
issue
yes.
with health and safety
Yeah,
because it used to invite the public if anybody wanted to come. And sometimes there would be 2 or 3 people, and we would start right up at Maltfield, and right down through Springfield and down through, but there was a health and safety issue, and we stopped inviting, or the council stopped inviting the public, because it used to be put, the Brook Walk would be on Sunday the 5th of whatever, but that was but there was 1 or 2.
Am I right in thinking that parish councillors on parish business are insured anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That liability is covered. I'll bring my kayak if anyone wants to go in kayak, so it'll be fine.
A chainsaw will be more used.
Yeah.
Get George to that.
A chainsaw will be more used than a kayak. Because you've got to get through it first. And you know about the clapper, don't you? If the clapper's the wrong side, then you could be in trouble when you go down the tunnel.
It's a lot to learn, you know.
Yeah.
It is.
I've never done this one. This one at all.
You moving on, Joe?
Yes, please, yeah. Planning.
Next week.
It's in planning at the end, isn't it, Pete?
Anything to add, Alex, Ricky, for planning?
I think we discussed that earlier.
Okay.
Thank you, Ricky, for doing that job.
Thank you, Alex, for being
On the Wedmore News,
No, nothing to report.
play areas. I think we've touched on certainly the Wedmore with regard to what Alex is proposing, so.
Field had a recent meeting, and yeah, there's some work we've got to do. It's actually something that's already been done, and we'll be going back to you for some money. So,
Okay. South,
No.
Plainfields. Got the update, okay, Village Halls.
The rates meeting's a great success.
is that in? The racing?
Yeah, it's wonderful, yeah.
Is it successful?
How much space have you
Yes.
used at the?
Yeah, I went to.
How's it work with the beer festival?
Yeah, I don't know,
Don't worry.
It's all fun.
They were sorted it out, but it was good about it. I didn't realise the whole bloody thing moved down the hall. So you can say, well, we only want 20 seats, and then we have rate seating, you know. So they're soft, nice seats to sit in, and it was great.
Yeah, I was jealous, they weren't on there.
So how much actual space is lost at the rear of
Well, the
that?
end of the hall, probably about a metre.
Because it's quite a sizable amount of space.
Yeah.
Bradford have been approached, as a village hall from, and I'm not quite sure because the email only came through from the secretary today. It's to do with broadband or fibre or something or the other. They want to put a box in the village hall car park or in the village hall area.
After open the gate.
Where's the now?
There we go. Yeah, the village hall car park is for those who don't monitor it. It is open every day, and it's certainly open all Easter holidays. So it's 7 children playing in there on Sunday,
Excellent.
and it's always open at that time. It is still closed, yes, in the evenings at that particular hour, unless there's anything on in the hall. But we still receive no communication from the play areas at all. So, no play area. But anyway, I'm not sure, I can't tell you, I say I can't tell you because I don't know, it was just to say we'd received this request from whatever it is putting in all these...
True speed, yeah?
Yes, that's right. And they want to put a box for one with that word.
Broadband, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Master report and items for the next meeting.
Could I ask Chairman, we do normally go on patrol in July and August.
We do indeed.
Do you wish to do that for Blackford in July or Theale in August or vice versa?
I think it's always worked well, hasn't it?
Yeah, the road show.
Did you ask Margaret about next month?
Yes.
Let me know.
Yeah, as just an individual, but I shan't be here, as it were.
No.
We shall be, yeah.
Could you
Just
see the
happens
halls
we
available?
go in July when we...
What
Yeah.
day is it?
Yeah.
You see the halls available?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Pete.
That's third Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll check with Theale as well.
Okay, thank you. Just any other items from you, Rob?
Nothing.
There was just one item that brought to my attention last week really was the passing of Adge Banks back in in February, and nothing was mentioned, and none of us knew. Adge being a previous former councillor, we're just waiting to maybe make a donation to a charity of the family's choice. So,
Well, my wife spoke to his wife yesterday, because she knows her quite well, and didn't get round to talking about this, but she's going to ring her again, we'll find out if there was a... We didn't know anything about a service or anything. You know,
I thought it was in Bath.
Yeah, but there might have been a donation to charity, in which
Yeah.
case I'll make some inquiries for the next meeting. Was it? Yeah.
possibly.
We'll see.
Okay.
Are we okay with that as
Yeah.
discussion earlier? No, as the discussion earlier of donations to charities.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that on behalf of councillors. I mean, it's a donation. It's called a 137 payment. It's a payment where we haven't got official powers, but we can do it in certain circumstances. It's like repairing the church clock and that sort of thing. You can make a charitable donation there.
But not toilets.
Sorry?
But not
Not
toilets.
for abroad.
Not for abroad.
For abroad.
It's got to be for a local.
Ah, right.
No. This is why I told her when she came in that she's not going to ask for money. We can't fund international aid of any sort. It's local money for local causes, basically.
Interesting. This is tier funding.
Okay. May I just remind everyone, that's intending on coming to the planning meeting next week, please look through the Strongbox
Yeah, there's 2
application.
applications now.
There's a lot of information in there. I've managed to get through about a third of it, but it's very easy for developers to slip something in the small print. So everyone please have a good look at it, and then we'll have a full and informed view for Wednesday night.
I shall call them and tell them I think they should join our way here.
Okay? Thanks so much for coming. Thank you.
One small thing, happy birthday, Pete. It's Pete's birthday.
Oh, is
so
it?
we should have